Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
To the podcast.
How
Everyone.
How many hours in that DLC so far?
Let's do a math. 20.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And
size of limb grave my fucking ass.
Surface barely scratched.
Oh no, I'm getting in there.
Okay.
Well, I'm getting in there. So one of the interesting things is that we're back to the difficulty discussion once again. In a Souls
Shadow
game.
of the Erdtree, by the way.
Shadow of the Erdtree, we're talking about the Elden Ring DLC. Where everyone's talking about, oh, it's so hard, whatever. Like the game just resets you back down to like basically how strong you felt when you started the game.
So you still have your levels and all that, but
you still have the ability to equip your gear and your spells.
But the DLC scaling is with new items that are these ashes that make you 8% stronger per ash.
5 to 10, something in there.
I heard something like that, which is significant. That's pretty big.
Well, the point is that you can get up to 20 upgrades. So at 20 upgrades, at even 5% is literally
huge.
double.
Yeah, and you also get a second thing that's supposed to deal with your summons and your buddies, your ashes, right?
Yeah.
So
your buddies.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, I was looking at the amount of souls it would take to like get another level anyways, and I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be goofy. Like I'm way too fucking thick for that. So
what are you at, like 180 or 200
180
or something?
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna get levels in this DLC.
Okay.
I'm fighting bosses that are dropping like 200 to 300k.
It is interesting though to see something like walk around and the first couple of grunts are like 1-2 hit drops.
They are jokes.
And then go into the first little downstairs boss zone and fight a non-joke.
Fight a extreme non-joke
right away. Yeah. So you're like, okay, just so you know, you're right. The dudes you punched to walk into this room like melted when you looked at them, and the dude in the room feels like, yeah, come back in a little bit, you know.
I feel like that's there specifically to fuck with you, because all of those shadow guys, right when you start the DLC, are just like damn nearly 1 or 2 hits. And then there's that chakram freak that jumps down at you right away. And then there's that Wolverine dude in the forest. And then the guy in the jail, which are all extremely for real.
I mean, it is cool just, I guess, seeing like a Dexy spinny fucker coming at you. And you're like, take one swing? Okay. I'm gonna need a couple of these to drop you. So they basically like they've laid it out so that it's like there is a wide range of players and levels they have to challenge with this. It's not an enviable task to try and figure out how to make it work for everyone of all builds.
As far as I've been going through it, it seems to work pretty well.
I did I mean, that fucker in the first jail. Yeah, like I took a crack at that, and I was like, okay, you're at the end of the day, you're still just like a player character build, you know. So we've you know how to deal with a lot of those in terms of behavior wise. But the fucking cannon from the dude in the hallway at Hogwarts is right there to just let you know, like, yeah, no, that's a one shot. There's a couple of one shots here. I think I took like a handful of cracks at it, and I can see him like, okay, I can probably off stream like take some time with this, even though it's gonna be a like get hit thrice and die. It was where I was at versus swing at him, you know, for the better part of 5-10 minutes, and then he'll drink at one point.
So one of the things that I found really interesting, so I've been like flying through the DLC, which like everyone has been complaining about the difficulty. The difficulty of the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC is higher than Elden Ring. It is statistically anyway post Haligtree onwards. Like it's as if this was just the next batch of levels. But there is a trick to it, like a legitimate trick to like flying through this really fast, and that is to purge yourself of the nonsense get good idea and start cheating. So like I went in with a bunch of different types of weapon against the armored knight guy that we're talking about in the little jail to the left.
Yeah.
And I had the final boss greatsword, you know, the one that does wave of gold, the big thing. That knocks him down.
Interesting.
It knocks him down every time.
Interesting. Okay.
So fuck him.
Huh. So I mean I was gonna pop this up on the footage when I get back to it, but I, after the stream attempts of going at it, was like, yeah, getting you know 3-shotted or 2-shotted or so. I just went back in after the fact, took a second, and gave it another 3 attempts and got it no problem.
Yeah.
Just realizing where the swing where like the pattern is on the swing, and then I used I have the talisman that makes my jump attacks hurt more.
Better,
and I couldn't get any staggers or like crumples on him ever.
I don't think that's gonna happen with him.
But I got a interruption on his whatever combo he's doing with a jump attack, you know, a jump heavy, and I was like, okay, great. I'll just use those and back the fuck off with, you know, and that was kind of all it needed to be. Yeah, absolutely. I see it. No ashes to be called in that fight for sure.
No, and like later on, I fought like a very classic From Software boss, you know, a spinning swordsman kind of character.
Right.
I went in with the biggest weapon I could handle, all my dragon fucking breath spells, the NPC that helps you in the fight for free, and my spirit ash, and just stomp on them. Just cheese it harder than you could ever cheese it.
It's cheating you. Yeah, absolutely. I see that.
Like they're like the whole like don't use summons, that's so stupid. There are only 2 new types of upgrades in this fucking DLC, and one of them is for your summons.
I was gonna say that I have proven myself to myself on these ulcerated tree fucks. I'm done. I'm very done.
Well, Woolie,
I know.
I have some good news for you. I have some legitimately good news for you about those ulcerated tree fucks. You have proven yourself, and you know exactly how to handle them. Yeah, which is great, because you're gonna have to handle at least 3 more.
Is it just because of the lore implication of that enemy that they show up as often, or is it actually like we know and we're fucking with you? I can't tell, because it's also in a poison swamp. So the fact that it's in a poison swamp makes me think you're fucking with me.
It could go either way on that. There is obviously like a lore implication. And the other thing is that it's a cut enemy from Dark Souls 3 that was supposed to be like a really big deal in that game.
Because like I'm never gonna look at the tree guardians, for example, and be like, oh, not another one, because I'm like, I get it. They sit at the base of a fucking tree, right?
They're a dedicated boss fight for a dedicated space.
And when you take them out, you get a specific mechanic of the orbs, you know, for your physic. And yes, it makes sense why that exists in the world, in the lore. But the ulcerated fucks have no rhyme or reason. They just pop up wherever they want to. They're shitbags in all locations at all times. And whether they're spewing yellow or fucking pink or whatever the fuck, it's the same shit every time. And it's just like, there was a wall that the first one presented as your first major dungeon enemy, and you know, to be like, oh shit, oh fuck. Plus the animation on it is really like wild and impressive, because it's so hard to understand what you're looking at. And then 18 of them later, you're like, my brain is off right now, you know? So yeah, I don't know what the deal is. Like, I'm hearing about all the reskins. Why not reskin that harder? Another one and another way. Do something, God damn it.
So in terms of enemy variety, yeah, you run into at least I fought 2 ulcerated tree beasts. No Erdtree avatars. There's a lot of new enemies here.
Okay.
There's a ton.
Okay, so people are exaggerating the recycling.
I mean, there's a couple that are recycling. Like, there's a really good example. There's a there's a couple of the standard dragon types around. But they have a different damage type, and they have they're being put into weird situations.
Okay.
So like when you fought like the ice dragon or the magic dragon or whatever in Elden Ring proper, it was like, I'm going to go into the lake or field or whatever, and I'm just gonna fucking throw down in the middle of this. In the DLC, there are extenuating circumstances to the areas that you're fighting them in.
Okay. Around the time of Altus Plateau, I started getting a bit tired of them Dragos, and I think, like, it was like, yeah, I'm, you know, it didn't overstay its welcome as hard as the Tree Spirit, but I started to feel it a little bit there. And then, admittedly, like, Placidusax fucking rocked that shit hard and brought it back, incredibly so.
Well,
you know, so, but the regular standard dragon type of your rainbow variety was overstaying its welcome.
I think they did so there is a area in this game that has like a lot of dragons in it. And I think they really nailed the specific amounts of which types, in that there is like one per type.
Okay.
And you're like, oh, it's one of those. Let's do this again.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. Anyway, I mean, I know that this is also what comes with the idea that you're getting 60+ hours of DLC, which is it's a new video game, right? The only reason you would call it not a full video game is because it happens to be a FromSoft game and they're doing this size of shit. But by any other metric in any other circumstance, this is a whole new thing, right?
I'm flying through it. I did 20 hours and, like, you know, hither and thither off stream to like find some scatter tree fragments that I missed, kind of thing. And I easily have at least 15 more, and I haven't gotten stuck on anything yet.
Okay.
Like, I think the longest boss I took to fight was an hour and a half. So if I was getting stuck here and there, or exploring things a little less conscientiously, yeah, no, this is a real ass video game here.
What's your approach to build in terms of to the build you're running in terms of, like, I guess, just fun versus optimized versus new shit?
Well, so this is actually, man, this is the most interesting thing about the way I played it so far. So I went and leveled my character up to 50 in every stat because I wanted to pick up every single item off the ground and use it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So 50 is below the soft cap for all of them, so it's not broken. But if I see an intelligence weapon, I want to be able to pick it up and use it. If I see a faith weapon, I want to pick it up and use it, etc.
Yeah. Okay.
And I originally put myself
I'm very far from that.
Yeah. Not that far if you keep playing the DLC, actually. You get a lot of souls. Runes. Sorry, I keep doing it.
Special DLC runes. Yeah.
Yeah. But originally I was like, as I got DLC items, I just directly replaced every single thing in my kit with exclusively DLC items.
Okay.
I was like, I'm going to beat this using only items found in the DLC. And then that was shown to me that is not viable.
Okay.
That is not viable.
I mean,
the stuff you're getting in the DLC is in some cases really powerful, but it is not to be a wholesale replacement for your gear from the main game.
Like, if I had enough arcane, then sure, I would try to run a little Aki build and see what this cool poison hand thing is about, you know. But if I have to go do a full on sit and respec for it, go egg up, then, like, nah, maybe not.
There are larval tiers hiding around in the DLC as well.
Yeah. I'd say for me, it's like I gotta immediately like the possibility of this being a main kit replacement for me to go sit and spec, you know.
Yeah, so I don't end up having to respec. I just put it on.
Okay.
And that's what's leading me to the realization of that, like, the DLC is numerically hard enough that it will mandate you switching up at least something about the way you're encountering the game. So, like, by the time I got to the end of Elden Ring, I had, like, talismans that stayed on my bar for, like, 50 hours.
Yeah, same.
That had just not come off.
Yeah.
Because they're just too good.
Yeah, exactly. Especially once you start, because the thing is too is like, yeah, I'm remembering going back to this as I'm like, wait, what does each button do again? And like going through that whole like remembering how to play, because I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, literally a game has not been touched since like 2 years ago exactly, almost to the day, right? And there's a bunch of talismans and a bunch of consumables, and like again we talk about perfumes and cracked, you know, this and that and whatever, where it's like, okay, this is the one that works and this is the one that bang for your buck, even though the description says raises your HP a little bit, this is the one that helped push it all the way through and hit credits, and so on. Yeah,
so like
no reason to switch that up.
That has changed. That has changed very strongly. So what I had way back was I had Alexander's Shard for the weapon arts. I had the one that let you cast a Radigan's Icon to cast spells faster. I had the turtle head for extra stamina, etc. And maybe like the jar for extra equipment, right? I'm pulling these off to equip fucking fire resistance talismans.
Really? Okay.
Because the main thing that the DLC has and the way that the stats work in the DLC in Elden Ring is that you can't get enough health. Like, the difference at this stage of the game is, are you dying in 1 or 2 or 3 hits?
Okay.
And getting that third hit, oh, that's a big deal.
That's
a really big deal.
I see.
So like, yeah, I fought a boss that I actually put on a goddamn fire resistance talisman just to cut it a little, because I was getting hit by a flame attack that was doing 90% of my health from full.
Okay.
And it was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. I guess like you got to pick a weakest link of the set and be willing to rotate that out. I only picked up there was like a poison resistance one for like getting down to the fucking swamp at the bottom of that first legacy dungeon, and it was like, yeah, that's some good resistance over there, that's nice, but what do I need this for? To run around this air room for 2 seconds? I'm good,
right?
You know, like that's kind of pointless. So I haven't seen the wall yet.
Did you beat up that big old furnace bitch?
I took a swing at the furnace feet and I saw the life bar not move, and I went, all right.
So here's where I'm gonna do your life a favor, because that thing's health bar lies. It is a inconsistent health bar. The damage you do to its feet is minuscule, but if you stagger it 3 times, it'll tip over, and then you can do a critical for like 60% of its life.
It lies.
Because it looks unassailable.
That's the classic. Well, the classic FromSoft test is you swing at the foot and look at what happens to the life bar, and then go, yeah, no, maybe later.
So I got that first one at like +3 or something like that. It takes a little while. And that, I actually want to talk to you about the item that thing drops, because that thing is, it drops a crystal tier for your physic. And what it does is that crystal tier makes it so that if you block an attack within 30 something, maybe 20 frames of it striking you, it will do no damage, and it will do no stamina damage, and your guard counter will be like 50% stronger. And here's the part that really matters.
Shit.
The buff lasts for 5 minutes.
Ooh, all right. Okay. Well,
So I was
target
I was
acquired.
pulling out like a fucking uchi, right? Like a katana, and fighting bosses with like it was Sekiro.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm still skating and punching, you know.
Oh yeah.
And you know, full disclosure, I know from that trailer that some other kind of punches are coming, and I'm waiting around to see what those look like.
I can point you to a spot on your map if you like. To just go to it.
If you know what, let me give it one more, and if I don't find them like tomorrow,
yeah, I'll just point it. I'll just draw you a little map.
Literally, because that's the move.
It's hey, I have that weapon. It's good too.
Okay,
it's even better than you think because you can put it on your left hand and it still has the whole moveset.
Beautiful. Yeah, because yeah, what I have is Fire Cestus on my left and Frost on my right, both doing bleeds. So there's a freeze pop to the combo, you know.
Oh, that tier really says a lot about the way that the DLC wants to be tackled. New solutions to new problems. Certain like I got completely dominated by a couple of the mini bosses, and then I threw that thing on. And it was just like perfect block, perfect block, perfect block. End of their combo, guard counter for 20% of their life. Do it again, staggered, critical hit. Like
Sekiro.
Yeah, no, it turns into Sekiro. And some bosses are totally annihilated by this thing.
No stamina loss.
Elemental weaknesses seem to be much stronger on bosses. Okay. Bosses do a lot of elemental damage, etc.
Okay. Now this is of course
the game wants you to cheese it.
My build doesn't really have blocking, right? At the moment, well, I mean, but this is putting that on, I suppose. Okay, I'd have to figure out. Well, I guess if I switch to two-handing Cestus and then
if you two-handed it,
empty on the
you
left,
might have a block. Yeah,
because right now I have my left button. It becomes a two-hand.
That being said, the dedicated martial arts gloves.
Yeah.
If you double hand them, your L1 does turn into a block.
Yeah, you do a little.
It's the shittiest block ever.
But it counts.
With the crystal tier that makes it a perfect block.
Mechanically. Yeah. Okay. And I did, you know, I caught wind as well that's like, oh, you know, like the Bloodhound Step and all these things have been nerfed and stuff. And I'm like, I don't really care about that. I just think
the Bloodhound Step nerf was still like, oh no, it went from being the best defensive move in the game to still being the best defensive move in the game.
Yeah, I'm like, regardless, it feels cool to do. Like, I don't even care if it loses like half that invuln, or if it just becomes a roll that like I enjoy it. It makes me feel good and it's fun to do. I want movement like that.
Yeah, nerfs tend to be fairly minimal, but like all the nerfs they did to the game are all PvP nerfs.
I imagine that's priority.
Yeah, which, like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
So you know that feeling when you enter into a area in like a Elden Ring or maybe any Souls game, you look at the area and you're like, I need to run exterior collisions. I'm so lost. And then like you go down a path and then it branches, and then you go down a path and it branches again, and you immediately start to be just like
panic.
Fuck.
Yep, that happened.
So
brutally at the end of my last stream.
Where'd you get to anyway?
So I got to the Legacy dungeon. That is like, you know, the first place where it's like, Mickey walked through here. Go get his
Ballarat.
Right, and and so I took a couple lefts and rights, and I was like, okay, you get a hallway. There's some fuckers on the left, some fuckers on the right. Pick one, go that way, and then you go up a staircase. Now you have 3 ways to go, you know, and then you it branches and branches, and then by the point I got to, I was like, I see a path on some roofs I'm ignoring, and then I see a second path on some roofs I'm ignoring again, and I actually unlocked a full shortcut at the under the poison area, and then got lost as to where I was, and then fucking wasted my time doing a teleport.
No, absolutely.
I was like, oh god damn it, you know.
So Ballarat's a really good example. Everybody goes there first. It's a pretty classic Dark Souls level. The thing about the DLC, and it's a map, is that shortcut pornography has been added to the open world now also. So you remember how you could just ride around Stormvale? And just that is now like the norm for everywhere, and like half of the zones feel objectively hidden, like behind a cave, through a dungeon.
Shaffer River type shit?
No, because Shaffer River, you just went to an elevator.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking more like Ash Lake.
Okay.
Behind multiple invisible walls.
Okay. Yeah. Across some branches and shit. Right, okay.
Like just huge portions of this DLC are just outright hidden. And it's awesome. Like you always feel like you stumbled on a brand new place you're not supposed to be at. And judging by the enemy scaling that you're running into, you sometimes get the feeling that no, you really actually aren't supposed to be here at all. Yeah. So like I went to the farthest southeast part of the map I could go, and was having a lot of trouble. And then Gene was in the chat and he was like, yeah, I only came down here when I was plus 16. What are you at? I'm like, I'm plus 5.
Okay.
But you can do it. You can do it if you try hard enough.
Interesting. Yeah, I have you seen or picked up any, I guess, like of the new weapons or spells that feel like this is a 100% direct replacement for something in the base game, and or just superior entirely?
Well, I'll tell you what, the big katana moveset, the great katana moveset, is like absolutely incredible. And you can get a great katana out in the open world, like it's just sitting on a body, like it's not in a dungeon or anything. It's just like out and about,
washing pole type shit.
Yeah, okay. But it's heavier.
Okay.
And it's the Monster Hunter longsword moveset.
Okay.
It's like the exact Monster Hunter longsword combo, like overhead stab, up slice, overhead.
Okay.
That shit that invalidates all the other katanas. It does so much bleed, enemies pop on hit number 2.
Cool. Okay.
It's awesome. There's some new dragon spells that are pretty good. There's some side grades on some shields. A lot of the new armor is incredible, but that's mainly cosmetic for me. The main thing that I'm getting is like talismans that are super interesting. So there's a talisman that I found that just gives you like a minute-long buff if you get a critical hit.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah.
There's a talisman that I found that increases your attack power when your summon dies.
Nice. Yeah, that's fun stuff. That's the kind of shit that I mean, I was talking about when like 16 added. It's interesting stuff in its DLC. That's like, yeah, fun ways to rearrange how you play and stuff like that. I like that. That's dope. It's also.
I'm sorry, I stopped so you could. Damn it! Our timing is so perfect.
It's nice to be back as well in the rhythm of like, ooh, there's a butterfly. What kind of butterfly is this? Huh, that's interesting. All the other Empyreans had a butterfly. Now this is the 4th kind. That must imply that if the others that came from the Self-Cest all were Empyrean level and they got their own, and then we're all in the, you know, in the school of thought that Melina is in that camp too, then ooh, maybe the Mesmer, and just getting into this little like, yeah, like put piecing things a little bit together here and there. It's a fun little type of lore scrape that you know, no other game I play really like has this type of little thing that I enjoy. I like these little scrapes and putting it together. The first thing you walk into this new world and it's like, what is it trying to tell you right away? Graves fucking everywhere, like more than anything else. Overwhelmingly, they're like Mesmer's war is
successful.
Like the amount of casualties, though, guys, no, for real this time, actually, you know, casual berserk trees just hanging out. Not like the one where you're like, oh, remember that one? That was when you got up to the area in Caria. And like, no. Like, this is a thing, you know.
I have learned so that there's way more story in this than there is in the base game. So the base game.
What the fuck does that mean? You're talking about like per capita though, right? Like density of reveal per capita, not surely in its entirety. That's an insane statement to make.
I mean story instead of lore. So the in Elden Ring, base game Elden Ring, the narrative is, hey, it's shit's fucked. You need to become the new guy. Go beat up all the other applicants for your job, and you can become the Elden Lord, right? And then it's, where are they? What is their deal? What's the history of the location that we're at, etc.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how does the Golden Order work?
But
where did the Golden Order come from?
And some of those things you spend a lot of time with Ranni, talking and piecing and bipping and bopping. But
I'm gonna talk around this. The DLC has a lot more of a forward moving plot.
Okay. Not just getting there and investigating the thing that already happened.
Well, when you do investigate the thing that already happened, the thing that already happened directly relates to the core question, which is, what is Miquella doing here?
Right, okay.
Right? Like in Elden Ring, your goal was really simple. In the DLC, it is, what is Miquella doing? Mm-hmm. Literally. And then all the little pieces are building up towards, what are they actually up to? Mm-hmm. And why? So it's a lot more forward.
I see what you mean.
There's more lore. Okay, you remember when you got the Elden Stars incantation in Elden Ring, and it mentions that the Elden Beast is a fucking space alien?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that has happened like 10 times.
Okay.
In the DLC so far.
Yeah, there's a feeling. So what you're describing kind of makes me think of like how there's a feeling, I would say, perhaps with the exception of Bloodborne, but even then, not too far off, in Souls and Demons and DS, where like you're walking behind a series of like, you know, crime scenes essentially, and like the final thing hasn't happened yet. You're about to get there just before, right?
Yeah, you're joining in on the third season, episode 24.
Right? They're at the 85% to 90% mark of like whatever's going on, and you get there and you might catch the last 10 to 15% of this journey. But for the most part, most of it has already happened, and you're getting there as the bodies are rotting, right?
Here, for what Miquella's up to, you get there within like a day of Miquella's arrival.
Okay, and shit is like, active. Cool.
Like the other guys that you run into also kind of just got there.
Interesting.
And the definitely read a lot of the you know those little ghosts. Yeah, they're way more important here. Definitely talk to them.
I mean, they're very important in general, I would say. A lot of them give you context that no one else does in a base game too, you know.
Did you get the storeroom key in Bellarat?
Yes.
Did you talk to the lady?
Found her.
Did you remember what her name was?
She was it aggravated or... Because I thought she looked like a finger reader, but she looked like a you know.
And she's talking about the wanton strumpet.
Yeah, but she's right. Like
you assume she's bitching about America, right?
And she's a horn. What is it? Horn scent finger reader looking lady. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Her name is Empyrean Grandam.
Okay.
Her name is like the grandma of the Empyreans. Which is like, wait, what is an Imperium again? Oh, it's the people who can ascend to godhood. And she's the grandma. and she hates America.
Huh. And that's where they all came from.
And you're talking to her, and she like you run into like an entire society of people with horns, where horns are like holy.
Yes.
Oh, I froze again. Awesome.
Yeah, all right.
Horns are holy, and like you think back to horns back in the base game, they're like, oh, it's a horrible curse.
Shove that fucking shit in the bottom of the basement, in the sewers, in the toilet. Flush that horn fuck down the toilet.
Yeah, and you get here and you're like, oh wait, no, getting horns is actually like a totally normal thing.
In fact, it's awesome.
It's part of this old religion.
Yes, and if you shave off some horns that you can use as currency, like, damn, you're blessed and you're high society. You're highfalutin with your big horns. Look how cool you are. It's exactly.
It's like, oh, this is the Crucible Society that existed before the
Erdtree. 100%. Yeah, for sure.
And
1,000,000%.
Post Erdtree, it was like, let's exterminate them.
Right. And so here's the thing, right? With that, yeah. So immediately we were, I was putting that together because you get the fact that it's a horn society. Oh God. Okay, hold on. Let me fix this fucking thing. Hold on. BRB. I'm gonna just keep it live and.
I'm doing a dance. You can't see it though.
I cannot. All right. I'm gonna do one of these
you can't see it.
Live fixes. All right. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hello. This is the stopped time. This is the pure Woolie moment. Give it a minute. Anything is possible within the Woolie moment. Hold on. And there we are.
Oh, I'm still invisible though.
All right, I see you, and
I don't see me. I'm sad.
There we are. Okay. So
yeah, every area you go to has some big revelation about how things actually work.
Yes, and so what I saw right off the bat was like, okay, you see horns, and you know that horns were all exactly the Olbans, the misbegottens, fuck those things, right? And then everything about pre-Erdtree society also involves multiple forms of not just the older tree, but different forms of death. And so the little birds that are perched up inside of the legacy dungeon are spitting ghost flame at you.
Yeah.
And ghost flame is absolutely how you got rid of bodies beforehand as well.
So it's
Tibia Mariners, you know.
Where you get there and like, so one of the things that's actually not clear in Elden Ring is that the destruction of the Golden Order has like wrecked the way physics works. In Elden Ring, like people don't die, right?
Yeah, you have
reincarnation.
You have to use the tree. That's the whole deal. That's the whole deal.
The whole thing's fucked up, and then you find out like, oh, there were actually like multiple different societies that all dealt with all of these problems in a totally different way, but you only see the little bits and pieces that have managed to stay here.
And whatever.
And you get to the Lands of Shadow, and it's like, oh no, that's where all that shit is from.
I see.
That's where Ghost Flame is just the way to deal with dead.
Like they had, and like even like life and death coming through the antlers. Like there's a million little, you know, bits and pieces where you're like, yeah, all these cultures had their own way of dealing with it. And then the Golden Order was like, let's do it and like
our way.
Let's do it our way and program it into a sigil that we can then fuck with. You know, the interesting thing too, of course, also in that same room is a beast head that is horned, and like the beast looks like Sarash or Malekith. It looks like one of those, you know, loyal, gonna hold, put this on your shoulder to calm down type beasts, you know? So, and again, it's all horned up. So like, we'll have to, like, I don't know what the implications are there, but it's a dead one. So yeah, this is definitely pre or Erd society. And then the amount of fucking hatred she has as well makes perfect sense, given that you're like, yeah, you showed up and there are so many bodies that the graves themselves are ghost graves and lining every cover, every inch of that field, you know?
Did you get to the, you know, that little tower right when you start, right in front of you?
Yeah.
Did you get to that thing?
I got up on the tower and looked around.
Did you read what was at the top?
I think I did.
So we're talking about the suppressing pillar, right?
I opened up a treasure chest and I got something in that chest.
Okay. And you were way up above on the gravesite plains.
Overlooking the firefucker and the starting point.
No, everyone in the chat is saying nay.
Maybe not then. Okay, I walked up.
okay.
I walked up some not scaffolding, but like.
Oh, you're talking about the scorched settlement.
Yes. That's what I'm talking.
Oh, okay.
About.
No, I'm talking about like a Washington Monument style tower.
No.
Okay, you should go to that.
Okay, yeah.
There's some documentation up there of particular note.
Okay, yeah.
To the game's narrative.
And it's also fun too, taking a look at things like besides like the Miquella symbol, or the gesture, which you're seeing the symbols of, which is like that's your sigil. There's the actual straight up, like looks like a cross, but then the arc hanging over, which was on one of the daggers you picked up as well. And so seeing like what some of these things, these symbols mean as well, and you're seeing them all over the map too. So I'm thinking like, well, if we know what Miquella's sigil looks like, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's fucking Mesmer's or something like that. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Those marks of Miquella, or I forget what they're called exactly, but the Miquella's crosses, they're great because like graces are nice and they have the wisps, and so you're unlikely to miss them. But the crosses are way better at like, there's probably an NPC here.
There's maybe two. Go talk to them.
They're not every time, but like the spot that you see this is probably really important, so you should look at it.
And just the absolute like, okay, a bunch of NPCs I'm gonna meet, in the same energy that you're like, which one of these Hades hot gods is gonna have vocal fry? Which one of these sad, downtrodden fuckers is going to be all, hello, my lord, hello, my lord.
Oh, that one. Yeah, no, it's the one that.
There's always a shy little Brit, yes, of course, yes.
There's a character that I found the day before yesterday that is the crestfallen warriors voice actor again. Back again. And it's just nice to see him back. Or hear him rather.
There's also a bunch of crestfallen dudes sitting around that I'm looking at, like, oh, are you the DS2 type, where like you will not be like at all concerned unless someone swings at you first, and some of them seem to be that way, but maybe not all. Also, nighttime exploration I haven't even really done yet, but the fact that all of this also has a time of day like multiplier on top of it is fucking
so nighttime exploration has two factors. One is there are things you can only find at night. There are little glowing graves that will denote hidden larval tears.
Oh boy.
Just out and about. The second of which is something that's really funny, and it took me a little bit to understand what was happening. Nighttime in the Lands of Shadow are way darker than in the Lands Between because they're not being lit up by a gigantic 10,000 foot tall gold tree. They're actually like, nighttime is actually like extremely difficult to navigate sometimes because it's pretty dark.
Yeah, okay. And that lantern ain't amazing.
It's not the best.
Yeah, intentionally so, but okay.
Yeah. So overall I really like what they're doing with this DLC. It's smaller than the base game. It's maybe 30-40% of the content of the base game. And the zones are much smaller, but there's more unique stuff in them, and there's way more zones than I thought there were going to be. There are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's at least 10 different zones.
Okay. Yeah, I'm also remembering as I'm booting this up too, like, I'm like, oh, there are so many subsystems I just completely ignored because I just didn't want to get into them. Like, like using cooking pots, for example. Like I don't throw these consumables. I know you can prep them and go into battle, but they're consumed.
So that's really funny that you mentioned that, because I also didn't.
Yeah.
And then there is one instance in which the game is like, shut up, make the item with the crafting system. It is the only way to beat this encounter.
Okay. The livers that they introduce here are like, oh, those are some pretty strong looking livers. I get it. I get that. But yeah, I mean, it's similar to, again, the perfumes and the Baldachin blessings. And then I think that little boon that you have to go get from Fia and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, what was the deal? This is a one-off and you can get it, but you have to go back and get it like rice.
I mean, the best consumable in the entire game is the crab. I don't know if you got boiled crabs. It's the only one I would ever think to use.
I remember boiled crab being great, but I forget why.
It's 20% physical damage reduction. And it costs 50 runes and it lasts for a minute.
Okay.
So like you can just buy 700 of the fucking things.
Awesome.
And just I'm probably gonna go back and go get some crab. I'm actually, you know what I was doing this morning? I didn't do the sewers in the base game because like I don't care about anything like that. And then I was like, you know what? I really want that fingerprint shield from the basement of the sewers.
Wait, you didn't do the sewers at all?
So remember, this is my PC file that I recreated.
Okay.
So in my PC file, I just beelined all the sacred tears, all the golden seeds, all the bosses that I needed their gear for,
okay,
etc. So I just skipped over the sewers the second time around. But now this morning I'm like, I really desperately need that big shield that does like 80% damage reduction on all the elements, because there's a lot of fucking fire damage going around on this DLC.
Yeah, they
there's a lot.
They telegraph it. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But yeah, so like there's two new dungeon types, like those gray stone catacombs that we ran into 100 of those.
I was trying to remember the fucking catacomb gargoyles. Yes.
So there are those gray stone catacombs are here. I have done 3 of them.
Okay.
They are super complicated.
Can you feel the template as you're playing it?
No.
Nice.
Because I have found 3.
Nice.
Of the other small scale dungeons, there have been 2 other types which are completely different.
Because like you can almost feel the intern that had catacomb duty on the base game. Like today, you've got to get 2 or 3 catacombs done. Like all right,
I have done
click room, drop.
I have done 3 gray dungeons, 3 blue dungeons, and 3 red dungeons. And the different types are all very distinct now in what they're asking you to actually do.
Okay. Is there a fucking cat statue waiting at the end?
No. No, in fact,
nice.
The bosses at the end of the catacombs are all bespoke, super cool bosses.
Lovely. Because yeah, again, the thought is it's a weird feeling to imagine like, okay, you can pay for a shorter version of a game with a lot more unique encounters, or a fuller, longer game, but you're gonna have these like, god damn it, it's that thing again moments.
Yeah, so there's a lot less of that in the DLC.
Awesome.
It's a lot more varied stuff more often.
Mm-hmm.
It is smaller in terms of scope, but you're seeing newer, weirder shit more often. I think it's better designed than the base game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't think.
Well,
I know for
the base game
purposes,
the base game has filler.
I know for scale purposes, like seeing Rayo Lucaria at the end of that giant valley was awesome. I hate riding around in Liurnia. From the bottom of Liurnia to the top sucks. Like I don't like it.
It didn't even bug me that much. It's just, but like a lot of
it'll definitely bug you on replay.
Okay. Yeah, it really is in these moments of like pure template when you hit those fucking catacombs, or you hit those you know, beasts, and like the moments of like, all right, we know there was nothing here, so let's just click here and generate, you know, almost an like automatic content. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's the filler moments that really, like, when I think back on them, are like not interesting at all. Cool. All right, that's dope. That's dope.
Also, the map, in the map lies. It lies really hard.
I mean, this has always been the case. The map has never told the truth.
This lies way harder than before.
Okay, because the first version of the map you get is like super zoomed in and only one layer. so
I'll give you an example. So you know how in Elden Ring's base game, you'll get your map, and what you'll see is there'll be a little line that's like, this is playable area. And then there will be like a ravine in between two spots, and you're like, well, that's environmental. That's not actually real map. Yeah. Right. Or there'll be an impassable structure or whatever. And then when you go underground, you switch it to the underground map. What if there was no underground map, but you still just went down there as often as you? Oh yeah, yeah.
I think I know. So I hit a cliff and I looked at it and I was like, this doesn't look like a cliff. This doesn't look like a death cliff. This looks. It looks like content.
It looks like just far enough that I would have fall damage and die.
Yeah. I absolutely had that moment of squinting, looking at what was sure death, and second guessing it though. You know.
The other thing.
Shout outs to those moments where you fall to your death and then your corpse lands on the bottom of the fucking world box. But then you see some shit running around in the camera in the background in any Souls game. You know, you drop to the bottom of Sen's Fortress, and a couple of snake fuckers walk by, and you're like, "What do you mean?"
There's a part of the west side of the map that you're at a really high elevation, and you look down, and you're looking at like the beach, like, you know, where it meets the water, and it's so far down that you can tell that it's way below the elevation you started the game at. Like, it's a full layer underneath the primary map.
Fucking lies.
At one point, there's a spot on the map that have two graces that are actually, their icons are overlapping with each other, but they're like multiple kilometers apart in height.
In distance?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, this is not a Metroid Prime map. You can't fucking. Yeah.
But yeah, all the parts of the map that like look like, oh, artist rendition of an impassable terrain are not. They're all playable area here.
Okay.
With one exception where it's really obvious that it's for Flourish. Yeah, no, it's great. It's smaller. It's more diverse. It's better. It's weirder. It's much weirder. I haven't been to the Shadow Keep, the big legacy dungeon, the biggest one, because it's really intimidating. From the ground, you can tell that it's about as physically large as Leyndell. But on the map, you can see that it has at least 3 entrances and exits to different zones.
Yeah.
And I got a key that said it opened up a district inside the Shadow Keep.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, that's...
Yeah.
Apparently it is like the single largest dungeon / level that From Software has ever made.
Yeah, okay.
And it looks the part.
So that, I mean, that's the background of all this is also like, let's see what current FromSoft's like take on what they could improve off of Elden Ring is, you know, if in the same way that all their previous DLC has, you know, done that. And then let's see what their current take on, of course, your badass set piece, you know, moments that occur. You know, what do you do here? And then, how much closer are we to Miyazaki's dream game if we are not currently there? Because
The DLC feels like a full step forward.
He said that Elden Ring is almost the game of his dreams, but it's still not there yet.
The NPC quest lines are actually a lot clearer this time. Like their locations are more obvious, and their goals are more clear. I have a.
You can hold it. That's fine. That's okay. I'll be enjoying. We'll talk about it next time.
They go out of their way to do a bunch of weird shit in this DLC.
Okay.
And more than the base game, it feels like you could just miss out.
Okay.
On 50%.
Oh shit.
Or more, like just miss it.
Okay.
Because I have at least like 3 or 4 times I have found ways into new zones via extremely nonsensical directions.
Okay.
Like, the best example is, remember in the base game, jumping down some well in the middle of town landed you in the sewers, and the sewers was this massive place?
Mm-hmm.
There's like 5 of that.
Mm-hmm.
Of just like, I wonder if I can get through this weird jump. Oh no.
Yeah. Okay. I will say too as well that like my brain is a little conditioned to whenever I see a invader styled enemy, I tend to go like, okay, this might be a little lazy, right? You kind of just made a little NPC and equipped him with stuff and put instead of a full, again, like bespoke.
Well, it's only lazy if you don't like the stuff you pick up off their fucking body.
But one, there's that, and two, if they're talking and saying stuff and it's happening, I'm like, okay, no, wait, hold on, this feels like a little bit more. So I ran into that spear dude in the dungeon,
Quilon,
and it was like, yeah, he was like talking shit and everything, and I'm like, okay, I like this to feel like an encounter, because there's definitely a big difference between when that happens and music plays and there's again lines of plot and lore related shit coming at you versus getting to fucking whatever, the bottom of poison shit zone and demons, and then just like out of the distance in the fog, a red fucker just comes running up to you unceremoniously and just starts swinging. Like,
I'll fucking kill you.
It's like, yeah, I like it to be integrated however possible. So, cool. More of that.
I think it is very, very good. I think it is definitely a good game, and I think anybody complaining about difficulty just needs to cheese it harder, like much harder.
So, it's funny because I was having a conversation with a neighbor actually about like, the new Elden Ring DLC is out and stuff, and it's like, but it's so hard, and I was like, yeah, it's true, these games, they can like fuck you up, and there's always a like, can you surpass the previous level of the hardest thing, because everyone gets more and more skilled and more used to what we put at them. So before, Millennia was a lot harder and Millennia and Moog 2 are asking a lot of you compared to what they was asked in the past. But now that people have learned that, like, how can we do this again and keep remixing it? I think as long as summons and ashes are available, it's still on the player,
Mm-hmm.
And if you really want to get it done right, well, then you can just purchase one of these game carries, which are available because there are businesses setting up shop to carry you through Elden Ring to get your save file ready to enter, or to just boss carry you if needed.
It doesn't even make any sense because, like, in an MMO context, which is where these people are from, it has a social aspect. It has a
Discord 24/7 available. It says right there on the bullet list.
It's like, look at me, I did it. I didn't really do it, but people think you did. Right? For Call of Duty or League, it's about getting through those shitty, awful elos where like the game just feels like shit to play, blah blah blah. But with this, it's like, so that what? so that you can what? Not play it and just know that you didn't? I don't get, like...
It's so that you can participate in the moment. The zeitgeist is happening now, and lest we forget that this is a game that is so... Like, Elden Ring DLC coming out is the most out there broadcasted fucking... Everyone's back. People who have not played a game all year are coming back to boot their shit up. You know, we're talking about the like fucking spoilers left and right that are flying through the you know, everywhere. Like, it's the most casual shit's coming back through.
I'm in a really weird place with the spoiler where, like, I'm pretty sure I figured out who the final boss is, but I don't want to be proven right until I walk through the door.
Nope, doesn't matter. We don't exactly.
I'm like dodging being told I'm
yeah, exactly. No, for sure. but all this to say is that you like, this is a moment where it's a piece of DLC for an extremely popular game, not just to hardcore but casual players as well, which opens up an audience door that is way more wide than usual. Therefore, a lot more people that are around that give a fuck about just feeling like they're in the moment because they're everyone else is. So yeah, let me pay for you to carry me through this game and feel good about my save file and seeing the cutscene or whatever the fuck. Nah, I didn't really read the item description. That doesn't matter. How crazy was that one fight though against the thing that I watched? You know, that's it. That's
here's the part that's really strange, like, with this, right? Which is, okay, for let's say you're paying for ultimate clears in 14, right? There are guides on how to do the ultimate clears. So if somebody asks, like, oh, how'd you find this part? You can literally just go read up and go, I thought light amalgam was a really tough mechanic because I had whatever, right? But when you're like, oh man, I had the hardest time against Storm Beast, but I did it. Oh really? How'd you do it?
Yeah, but I don't even think that's I don't know if that conversation even goes that far. I think it just goes as far as,
well, in the zeitgeist it does, because it's like, oh, what bullshit did you use to defeat the dancing lion or whatever?
And again,
right?
and it's not every game. It's only the ones that hit that. Like, no one's paying for or asking. I mean, they might be, but realistically, not to this level. You're not seeing people paying for Armored Core clears from people. You know what I mean? Like, like that is this is something that would happen with whatever is the premier extremely hard thing.
Yeah.
So
oh, you know what? Oh, you get your trophy. You get your Steam achievement.
There's Shivos.
There it is. Yeah. No, I did it. I totally did it.
You know, hey man, always remember, fucking, I tell the story about that kid that ran his business for $20. He'll take your Gauntlet Legends arcade character and max level that shit. He'll get him to level 20 and he'll load in your password and just have your character maxed out, ready to go. So you can just go into the arcade, pop in a quarter, load in the character, and then just breeze through the game and then walk away, having put your dollar in the machine, you know? Like, that's it. That's all you're getting. Yeah. And maybe even...
What's funny about this whole conversation is Melania used to be the high watermark for Elden Ring. That crystal tier that allows you to parry turns her encounter into a joke.
Oh wow, okay.
Because you remember she staggers really easily. So you put the guard counter up item and then you put the crystal tier on that improves your guard counters, and she hits you, and at the end of the combo you guard counter her and you hit her for way more than she healed and you didn't take any damage, and she staggers.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
It's really funny.
I mean, the you know, in addition to the PvP implications of getting carried too, there's also a bullet point on that list of things advertised, which is cookie cutter builds, which I found particularly hilarious. Is like, hey, we will give you a cookie cutter build with all the best weapons and armor. Yeah. You know. Anyways, that's gonna be profitable for at least 6 to 8 weeks.
I am super excited to talk to you about the story stuff that's going on in this expansion, but
we'll get
there's
there.
stuff.
We'll get there.
There's lots of stuff.
And I went and I properly refreshed myself too before the redive, just to, you know, put it all back together in context.
I think probably one of the reasons that I'm doing a little better than some of the other people I know streaming it is that I was actually playing through the whole game up to get the file ready like 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Like I essentially rebeat most, if not all, of Elden Ring in like the last month.
Okay.
Right before it. Whereas you said you picked it up 2 years ago, like
2 years ago.
Hadn't touched it.
Yeah, and then I just said I went refreshed on lore. But the main thing too is like besides just like the basis of everything happening and recognizing patterns and stuff, I also really like when I want to be able to catch things that were loose threads in previous in the base game that come back around, because it's like, oh, is that a blue dancer? You know what I mean? Like, oh, is that a fucking like little things that went nowhere. I want to see there. Michaela is a giant loose thread, obviously, but
it's the only one we didn't get.
But beyond that, there's like just little things about, you know, like, oh, the introduction of, yeah, well, no, I mean the blue dancer character, for example, like you don't really know much about what that is, but you got enough of a baseline of like, okay, cool guy, wore this, taught the waterfowl dance, you know. Little things like that are like, oh, what is this land of reeds? What's popping up
the land
there?
of reeds is straight up the setting in Sekiro.
I mean, but like, is it actually just Sekiro Japan it's hanging out Japan. Over there?
Yeah.
And the Greater Will could have shot a fucking alien over at Sekiro Japan, but instead decided on this.
Yeah,
one.
I think they're answering a lot more details about things that I thought were going to be just left completely like, oh, what could that be? And then you run into it, and you're like, no, that's what that was the whole time. The thing that you thought was mysterious, yeah, here it is. Look at it.
God. If there's one like just Albinoric fucking alien looking motherfucker walking around somewhere in Sekiro under rubble somewhere,
maybe,
you know. Yeah. Anyways.
Also, I like those spirit eels. You look over at Twitch chat right now, you're gonna see a lot of those pogging.
Yeah.
Those guys are cool.
And of course, lastly, I'm waiting to see the Grim in all of this too, lest we forget. I'm sure George had his bit planned out as well.
Well, I think I've seen some.
Okay. I mean, I'm pegging self-cessed big, big on Grim.
Did you do? You know, there's that little lake to the east of Ballarat on the map.
Not really. No.
Oh, okay, because there's a thing
I know there's a bridge. There's a bridge I looked at on the map that said, "Hey, 1 Mickey, 2 Mickey, 3 Mickey there." And there's a bridge in between.
I mean did you get to the little village that's just to the north under that bridge?
Not really, no.
Okay. Oh, I want to talk to you about that stuff.
All right, next time.
Oh, there's more stuff that I'm like, ooh, I want to talk to people about it in this DLC than there was for like the whole of Elden Ring.
Interesting. Fair.
Like it is just there's just so many little interesting little pieces that are just so fucking weird. It gets way weirder than I thought it was gonna get.
Okay.
It's real strange in parts.
You know, right off the map, meeting a dude that's like, "Ooh, I'm Moog's advisor," and I'm like, "Did you advise Moog? Because I think you should have talked to your boy." Yeah.
There's something about that specific exact thing. It comes up.
Oh man.
It literally comes up and you go, "Oh."
Okay. All right. Let's leave it there.